Hey guys, how you doing? We're here at 40 Pints in the back of Kraus Marketing in our headquarters in Morristown, New Jersey. Once a week we have a guest on and they get to bring a drink, which is the best part of it for me. Today we have Vince Finaldi of TeleCloud. And what'd you bring for us to drink today, Vince?
Thanks for having me, Nick.
You got it,
Appreciate it. Yeah. So I brought a sipping tequila called Casa Dragones. And I was kind of looking for a really good tequila, and I just came across it randomly and kind of fell in love with it. It's delicious.
So I've never really sipped tequila. I only shoot tequila. So this is like you throw it on the rocks and and we put it with a little club and lime today, right?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So
Is there a
on the
story behind
rocks,
this one?
splash of club, lime, lots of lime. Splash of club is up to the personal preference of the drinker. It probably makes me weaker, but I don't care. And that's delicious.
So what's the story behind this tequila?
So because I knew how to answer that question, I looked into it. And so it turns out it's unique. So for two parts. So the woman who's the creator, her name is Bertha Gonzalez Nieves. And it's rare because in Mexico, it's a male-dominated industry. So she's like a master tequila distiller, for lack of better words, or maker.
I think that's right.
And so that was just something really interesting. It's a female-created product, which I didn't even know until recently. And the second part is Dragones is actually a cavalry that led the spark to Mexicans' independence from Spain. So when I drink it, I feel like more invigorated than ever before.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like cowboy shit, but
Yeah.
Mexican cowboy shit.
It's,
Maybe I shouldn't say
it
shit.
made me love it even more.
So why don't we start off a little bit about what you do? Because I know you're a business owner, TeleCloud, but what is TeleCloud?
So to oversimplify it, we're a business in Union, New Jersey, and we help other small businesses, mostly in New Jersey, with their cloud phone technology. So we've been at it a long time, since the 80s, family-run business. And we shifted our model to helping customers all across New Jersey with anything related to cloud phone tech.
Yeah, so I would imagine that with COVID this year, that things had to be more interesting than ever, and probably more needed than ever as far as telephone services. I know we called you guys when like the first day we went remote. You guys help us, get us all remote, and we were answering phone calls on our cell phone, and I mean it was pretty seamless. But I'm sure from your side it didn't seem that way.
So when COVID, I would use the term when COVID first came into our lives in March of this year, it was extremely nerve-wracking. Then we had the lockdown, so we were all kind of scrambling to figure out what's happening in our lives, personally and professionally.
Of course, yeah.
But from the tech point of view, it actually was almost use the word easy, because the technology is designed to work from anywhere.
Right.
So if you're at the office or you're at home or you're at a remote site, you can just communicate with clients from anything.
Right.
From a computer, from a mobile app, from a phone. So it actually was really pretty easy from a technical perspective.
So as a business owner as myself, I also was using just the extensions and hitting people's cell phones to make sure that it was forwarded and it was working properly, and also that they were, answering. So,
of course.
But it worked out really well.
Yeah.
It worked out really well. So now we're in this stage of like going back into a second wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
And probably more people are going to start working from home if they even came back to the office.
Right.
Well, let me ask you first, though. What are you guys doing as far as it goes?
So kind of who we are, just to give everyone an idea. So we're about a 15, 20 person company. Most of our staff is in New Jersey or Central or South Jersey. So we're like a true Jersey-based company. And what we ended up doing when March came, we ended up just going fully remote. So we've been on the fence with it for a long time to have more of a hybrid work environment, like some folks at home, some folks at the office, and more of like what makes sense for the employee, depending on their personal, like where they're at in their life. A young mother with children is different than a millennial who's just starting, is different than someone who's in the older generation.
Right.
So what we did, just to oversimplify it, we went fully remote. Okay. And at times we go into the office more for culture and training and camaraderie, but not to run our business. So it's more the human side of things.
So is that like weekly, monthly? How are you guys doing that?
I'd say twice a month.
Okay.
Yeah. Just to keep connection, because you do need the physical connection.
So we went like every other, so we're going 1 week on, 1 week off. And I mean, you guys got quite a bit of space too. Mm-hmm. But what we find is like we have enough space to do it. do I think as a business owner that we can keep doing it? I don't know, everything's spiking again, so it's pretty interesting.
True.
But it's, and this video may not age well based on this conversation.
No, in 6 months in today's environment, it's like 6 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's been interesting, but we noticed that digital marketing did really well. So I'm sure that the need for, I'm sure a lot of people still had phones that weren't in the cloud, that weren't easily like affordable to cell phones. So that's what bring your own device, not bring your own beer.
BYOB is more interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you can do BYOB, BYOD at the same time, especially working from home.
Yeah.
So, but I'm sure that helped to bring on some new customers and get people to update and that type of stuff.
You know, what we found was kind of a couple things that really popped out. So when a business has to go remote and is forced to lock down, it brings attention to the technology more than it ever has.
Right.
Beyond just the voice communications or phone systems with clients. Like, think of cloud-based email, cloud-based file sharing, cloud-based messaging. So what we found is so when a company has to go remote, it brings to light their technology deficiencies.
Right.
So sometimes it's the phones, but sometimes it could be something as simple as scanning documents.
Right.
Something could be something like accessing email.
Or
like
your server.
Or your main line of business software if
Right.
you're running like a specific niche software that runs your database.
Right.
So what we found is at times the phones are the problem, but at times it could have been something else.
Yeah.
So it really just depended on the business, but it definitely, I think what COVID did, it educated companies that are small that could get away with being technology kind of agnostic or uninterested. It forced them to take an interest to understand it.
Yeah, I found that it accelerated a lot of different technologies. Of course, we've seen Zoom and we've seen, all these tech stocks do fairly well, including like most of these most of these e-commerce stocks, have done great as well. And then digital marketing. People have said, I understand digital marketing, but digital marketing is not really right for me.
Sure.
Have really changed.
It better be now.
Yeah, they have really changed their tune recently,
Sure.
So it's an really interesting time. I think, like, when we were talking earlier, you said it's like multiplied it, and I've been using the term accelerated. So we're on the same page as far as it goes. Like, it's but that's what happens through evolution and through there's things that happen that require people to go quicker.
I think if COVID never happened, the evolution of change could take 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and it happens, but it happens sort of more organically and more calmly. But I think what COVID did, it just accelerated the need. For example, Zoom, and I know Zoom is a great software provider, but I know them as much as I know the man in the moon.
They're not a sponsor, so you don't have to worry.
Like I don't know who Zoom is, except they're a really successful software company. But they went from 20 million subscribers to 200 million subscribers in, I think, 3 weeks.
That's insane.
I mean,
could you imagine even having to support that from like a server overload situation?
The fact that they got away with it means they were ready to scale.
Right.
So when you think of the Amazons of the world, the Zooms of the world, the Slacks of the world for instant communication,
they were waiting for an opportunity.
It's like,
and they never knew it was going to be this, for instance, but it just was.
It just was.
Yeah.
And if those tech companies in those spaces, so kind of look at tech used to be the big three categories that like I'm familiar with. You got like the phone system industry, you got the collaboration industry, and you have like video.
Okay.
And what COVID did, it kind of merged them into the one thing all at the same time.
Right.
So when people think of a phone system, they think of a phone, but now it's not. It's like a phone. It's video collaboration with clients. It's instant messaging with your coworkers. It's text messaging with clients. So it's like crazy amount of services onto one software provider.
Yeah.
And that's what ultimately people want, something simple that covers every form of communication.
Yeah. I remember one of my art directors, she came to me, she goes, so we're going remote next week. You only can have, if you don't have the proper licenses, you only can do 40 minutes and you can only have 2 people. She's like, how many licenses do we need? I'm like, how many employees do we have?
Everyone who talks.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone who talks.
I remember the 40-minute free trial, and like I was on with a big customer, and I'm like, sorry, we're at minute 38. I haven't invested $30 more a month.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a neat decision.
So did you go to the Amazon tour? I know I went to this Amazon tour.
No, I've never been to that.
Okay, so I went to this Amazon tour
I'm sure it was ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, 1 million square foot office space. Everything is on wheels, and everything is like a QR code or a barcode, right?
Wow.
And I walked out of there, and I said, Amazon never said, you know what? I'm not going to invest in that technology because it's only going to make me a little bit better. I think Amazon has always said, I'm going to invest in that technology because it's going to make me better. Like, I think a lot of us small companies, mid-sized companies, we did make decisions on like budgets and numbers.
Yeah.
And instead of like making ourselves more efficient and profitable in the long term, we make like immediate decisions.
It's a really good point.
That really hold us back.
And I think what the tech companies did, especially the larger scaled ones that we all know in the stock market and the Microsofts of the world, the Apples of the world, I think they're 3 to 5 years ahead of the average person.
Sure.
And COVID, they were like, oh, you need that now.
Right.
Like, well, we have it.
Well, we have
so I think like companies that were positioned 2 or 3 years ahead of the average guy were the ones who really killed it.
So now we got this remote work world. When do you guys you can't be planning on coming back anytime soon then with everything spiking again. So what are you guys going to do?
When we went remote in March, there's been really good benefits. And, there are cons. So, like anything else in life, there's pros and cons. Think of the Benjamin Franklin T-chart. So you said, what are the pros of like remote work? Well, you don't have to commute or sit in traffic. That's a pro. You have an hour more morning to work out, spend time with your family, eat breakfast with your kids. That's a pro.
For sure.
So what are the cons? It's like, I don't know, after hour 9 in your home office by yourself, you start getting a little
crazy.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Start getting a little crazy. So, but as far as our company, I think we're going to figure it out. Yeah. I think we need COVID to be done with. Yeah. And another like out of our lives, either however Pfizer handles it or whatever happens if COVID's out of our life, I think we'll go more back to like coming to the office like once a week for like camaraderie, culture, team building, and like kind of stay remote. But every business is different.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So we have we started it last year, which was good for me because I'm the type of like I'm traditional in the sense like I want you in the office. I want to see you working. Makes me feel good.
Well, you were born in the 40s. So
yeah, I'm born in the 40s. So one of the managers came to me and she said, Nick, we could do this remote, and this was before obviously COVID. This was like a year and a half ago. And I'm like, I know, but honestly, it's better when we have synergy, and it's good for people's mentalities, and also things happen more real
culture.
Culture, but also things happen. I feel more real time,
without question,
more real time, right?
No one can argue that.
And I'll actually talk about that in a second. But she said, well, some of us, you could trust. I'm like, of course I could trust. I trust all of you. You're all professionals. She goes, so can we have like a certain amount of work from home days? And I'm like, what are you thinking? And I think she said 1 week. I go, how about 2 weeks? And she said, amazing. Right. So as long as you put it in early, you're allowed to have 2 weeks work from home. And work from home didn't mean work from home always. It could be work from your wife's conference or your husband's conference.
Sure.
There's a lot missing like travel time.
Without a doubt.
With their spouses.
So you remind me of something interesting.
Opportunity.
So we were, and just not to act like we're this like, remote workforce, been at it for 10 years. We've been at it since March. Right. So it's new to us too. I'm not trying to pretend like we've been, 10 years ahead of the game. But what we found is one thing that really kept us on the same page. We have a regimented 10 a.m. huddle with our company. So we have 15 to 17 people on a call for 15 minutes, and everyone has to go through their today in 1 minute. And what we found was it's time consuming in a sense. It's 15 minutes, but it takes discipline to do every day. And I hate to use the word mandatory because that's not the right use of words, but like in football you have huddles before every play, so it's our daily huddle, and we found that kept us like on the straight and narrow of understanding what's going on, because if you're all remote you need to connect as a team, just like you do in any sport or organization. And
it was I find that discipline is very important. It also gets a lot of questions out of the way that could need to be handled later in the show. One thing that I think though is it has a shelf life. So this was in the very beginning. Like by May, everyone's like workforce and work from home is forever. And then now that conversation is a little more settled down. Sure. But I'll tell you why I think it has a shelf life. One is employees, and they have the right to. They don't want people monitoring their computers in every second of the day of what they're doing.
Of course not.
But employers who have a big workforce, we have 17. You have 17. I have like 25 people. Right. So like we have a small workforce in the big scheme of things, right?
Of course.
And who's working for you, so you can trust them. let's say you have a few thousand employees or tens of thousands of employees. Now you need to know that you're getting the most efficiency out of all these employees. So you have to monitor their computer. Sure. Maybe take screenshots of what they're doing every few seconds, you know? I mean, that is intrusive. I've heard some employers making it mandatory to leave your webcam on.
Wow.
So they could just like pop in at any
That's
time.
Wild.
Yeah. So
that's wild.
So now that's the employee side, and then as the employer side, it's and the higher executive level side, it's so a lot of times I'm sure you see this as a business owner. You may have like 45 minutes a day that are open. Mm-hmm. The rest of this meetings. Sure. And you got to get in touch with 6 people.
Sure.
You call them, they don't pick up.
Right.
I don't expect anything other than they were doing something real quick. I know they're making their 8 hours, doing their 8 hours that day. I know there's no doubt in my mind they're doing their 8 hours. I only had that 45 minutes. I had 8 people to get in touch with. If everyone calls me back 5 minutes later or pings me back 8 minutes later, that 45 minutes is shot. And I think that's one of the big reasons it has a shelf life too, because efficiency from an executive level is killed if you can't get in touch with people quickly.
You bring up a good point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely challenges, and I think from an employer's perspective, you're like, if I was working for a company, how would I want them to treat me? And I'm like, just let me do my business and let me take care of my business. Like, let me hit my goals.
And by the way, don't get me wrong, I'm the same way as you. It's like, if I get to work out an extra hour and I don't have a meeting till 9:30 and I know only half the staff's here anyway, I come in at 9:30.
It's true.
When I used to be like, I have to be there 8:45, I expect everyone else to be there by, in the 8 o'clock hour.
And I kind of, if I was forced with a gun to my head to be like, what's more productive? In person with a strong culture or remote with a strong culture? I'd pick in person.
Right.
I really would. Right. I mean, because then the leadership is there. You can touch. You're within feet of all your coworkers and teammates. But in person, without question, is more productive and efficient and the best. The reality is though, like, we're just living in a time where you have to adapt. Right. So it might be the best plan B.
Right. Well, and I think that there's going to be a compromise.
Sure.
Right. So I'm not. And maybe it sounds like I'm saying that it's going to go back to normal. I don't think there's any chance that it's like completely back to the normal.
I would say if 90% of small or certain businesses are remote, depending on the business. Right. Manufacturing can't go remote.
Obviously.
If you're a car dealership fixing cars, you can't go remote.
Nurses aren't going remote.
Yeah, nurses. Like, there's realities to like building things and products and services that can't be remote. But the ones that can get away with it, especially the tech industry, like my company and your company, can get away with being remote.
Right.
I think it's going to go, once COVID's out of our life in like a year, I think it'll go back to more like a 50-50 model, depending on the culture.
It might. And
I think it'll come back to normal.
And I think as a company, you'll do that because you want to attract talent. Yeah. And some talent's like, listen, I'm one of the best at what I do. I don't need to be in the office every day.
True. It gets into the experience level of the person.
Right. Exactly. Then it's going to be so it's going to be a compromise of the employer to the employee to make sure.
So it's funny you say that. So we did a little research on remote work cultures and kind of what are some of the challenges. And one is onboarding for younger hires.
Sure. So
if someone like graduates from college, they're in their early 20s and they get their first professional job, they're very excited and they're in a remote culture, like their odds are they're at home in their parents' home, right, in their bedroom.
Right.
Like, you can only have so much growth and camaraderie in the room you were when you were 14 years old. So that's a real challenge. Like, the onboarding of a young hire.
We had one of the guys here working out of a laundry room.
Yeah, that's not okay.
Because that was the only quiet room in the house.
That's not okay.
No.
Yeah. So that would get old in about 6 days.
Right.
And maybe 3.
Yeah.
But I think, like you said, if it's an experienced professional, someone a little more seasoned, right, I think it's a different.
Well, and it is, and I guess, and like we both have young kids, right?
Yeah.
So, I find that my kids like gravitate to me.
Oh yeah, they want to play with daddy.
Yeah, and like it's cute, and they're on almost every Zoom call when I'm at home.
Yeah.
And it's very sweet. And actually, I find that my customers and my employees, they don't care.
They appreciate it for a moment.
So yeah,
you get about 10 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. You get one interruption. Let's not try to do this 4 times. Like, we're 9 months into this. Like, you should be able to figure this out by now. But I
love your kid.
Yeah, but
ship him
can we finish this conversation? Yeah, exactly. I find it interrupts me more though.
Yeah,
as polite as everyone is, and I think for the most part they mean it. They understand too, right?
Yeah, they're people.
But it interrupts my train of thot. Yeah. And as much as I don't want my kids to ever feel like they're being a pain. Well, as parents we can say.
I get
the heck out of here.
So my wife's due in 2 weeks, so we're having our second son in 2 weeks, so we're excited. Yeah. But we have a boy.
Congratulations, by the way.
Appreciate it. Yeah, cheers, man. Appreciate it. So boy number 2, and I strangely wanted like a whole army of boys. I don't know why, but it just can't.
Maybe you manifested it.
I can't help it. Yeah. So we have a 2.5-year-old named Leo, and he'll once in a while I'll forget to lock my office door, and he'll come in, climb underneath my desk, climb on me, like slam the computers, and people get it.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Of course.
But like when you're on a call with an important client, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah. So this summer I was working from home. It was like a Friday, and I did a lot of Fridays from home, and I have 3 girls, right, and then my wife, of course, and all of them beautiful.
I'm looking forward to when my sons marry your daughter.
Yeah. They're gonna have to marry young. Sure. So, I remember like it was just a funny moment because I'm like doing the books or looking at reports. I forget what I was doing exactly, but all 4 of them were standing around me. I had all these 4 beautiful faces standing around me.
That's great.
And I was like, "What's going on?" "Nothing. You need me for anything?" "No." It was really cute. Yeah. But it's interesting. I think the environment has to be right for a work from home situation sometimes too.
No.
Especially when you got young kids or you don't have the space. I don't think everyone has the space.
No, it's a very real talking point.
Yeah.
That people have to address.
Yeah. Agreed. Because it's great in a utopian type of way. Right. But maybe it's not realistic.
100% agreement. Lock that office door. If you don't have an office, build one.
Yeah, exactly. So, as a business owner, you're second generation, right? Mm-hmm. But as a business owner, tell me we got a lot of business owners listening. What are some of your, what are some of the funnest parts? Let's start with that. What are some of the funnest parts of being a business owner?
I'd have to say, probably that you can manifest your ideas into something real as quickly as possible. So if you have an idea, you have the platform to try to implement it. Right. And a lot of the times it doesn't work and you fail. But I'd have to say the most fun part about it is you have like a thought that can turn into something concrete. That would probably be my number 1 answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's fun to be able to take things from 0 to 60 very quickly. Yeah. Although sometimes the team doesn't always love it.
More often than not, it's terribly executed. Yeah, exactly. But you had a great idea.
Oh, Vince has got a new thought today. So what are some of the biggest challenges then?
As a family business? Just as a business?
You entered that one yourself.
So as a family business, so to give people a framework, because they probably don't know who I am. So our father started the company in the 80s as he started the company from scratch. Right. So the hardest thing to do in the world is start a company from scratch with an idea and no customers. Right. So first generational business owners and founders deserve all the credit in the world because you're taking a spark and turning it into a fire. You're taking nothing and turning it into something. So I look at my job, I'm second generation, and I run the company with my brother Damon and my sister Kara. So our job, we didn't have to start it, we just have to make it better. So like our duty, ethically, morally, in every thing you can find inside yourself is to take something your father or mother started and make it much better. Like that's my job. Right. So I have to say, what is the challenges of it? Sometimes it's hard to divide being a brother or sister with being a business partner. Sure. Because there's a line of what your job is, what your duty is to Kraus or to TeleCloud, versus you're my brother now. Right. Or you're my sister now. Right. And sometimes it's hard to pivot. Yeah. And you're just my sister. I'm here for your birthday. I love you. Right. Or brother. Right. But sometimes it's a business meeting and it's about business. Yeah. So I think it's really important to compartmentalize and like separate when you're a sibling versus when you're a business person. Yeah.
It's got to be a lot of weight to feel that way, like your father started it and you want to make sure that you continue it.
Of course.
And I've talked to you and Damon several times about this, and you guys are so modest in saying that, but I don't think being a business owner is ever easy. Like you're always modest and saying, my father started it, I'm just one that has to carry it. So you still got to carry it. Like in my opinion, you guys are always very modest in that. I just don't, we shifted
No, I agree with you in the sense that it was our duty to take something that was built and adapt with the times. Right. So like in 2014, 2015, the buzzword was cloud, the buzzword was VoIP. Like we invested a lot of sweat, equity, and blood and tears into shifting the company.
Right.
And now we're in a good place.
Right.
So like we did do what we had to do to adapt and stay relevant.
Right.
So
yeah, which is it's so easy.
At the end of the day, you have to work, and you have to anticipate.
Especially when a company's been around for decades, it just can't possibly stay the same model.
No. If anything, that's the one downside of inheriting a company, or the one downside of going second generation is, well, this is how we used to do it. This is what it is. It's like, it's terrible.
Right.
You did that in 1995.
Right.
You're like, you're going to be out of business in 6 months if we do that again.
Right.
Like our businesses, we're in technical service operations, so it's a lot of tickets when customers have problems. We were writing stuff on pieces of paper.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, exactly.
So like you have to implement and adapt, and it sounds like normal, but you have to go through a lot of like the pain of changing something.
Well, writing things down on paper. It's funny because I've been in so many clients' offices, and I'm like, there's things like Basecamp or whatever, Trello or what. There's like tons of these different project management softwares.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and I had an architect client.
We use Asana.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so we had an architect client, and they were literally they're using an Excel file to like basically say this is what is going on and who's on it and what the next task is.
Sounds terrible.
And it was like it was going from first generation to second generation. Right. And I said to him, like, there's software that allow you to move at the speed of 20.
With
this is like 2016. Because things move slower 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Things moved a lot slower. Like,
sure.
Now things move so fast. If you don't have that type of software to keep you up with it, it's insane. And then on top of it, they were like a larger company.
Sure.
So this spreadsheet was insane and impossible to manage for anyone, So,
that's pretty cool.
But I see that often. My wife came into the company 1 year after we started at Michelle, and she said, Nick, so you sell a deal. This is like 2009, 2010. She goes, Nick, you sell a deal. What happens next? I go, well, I write it down on this yellow pad, and then I tell Nick Westcott, Nick Westcott. I tell Nick Westcott, now, go ahead and do it. And then I always refer back to these. I refer back to this yellow pad on a daily basis, and I tell Nick Westcott what to do. And he's like, and she's like, that's not a process. I'm like, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't need processes.
No. Process. Process has become a word that's been like so important but so abused.
Yeah.
Because like if you have too much process, you lose soul.
Right.
But without process, you're a disaster. Yeah. So
to
like
me,
you have to find.
I used to think it was a dirty word. Now I'm like, this is what solves issues.
Yeah.
Is a good process.
Where's the process? Is it a person?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Where is he or she?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's just a growing pain, and I think it was a timing and technology pain, and now it's a growing pain as far as like if you start in a business, you gotta understand that those processes are there for you, because you can't scale without proper processes.
You can't breathe without process. Exactly. Because you can't solve every problem.
Yeah.
Yep. No, that's something where, especially in the last 2 years, as a company we're shifting to like, all right, this has got to grow past. You have to grow past the owners. It doesn't matter. Like,
Vince knows how it works.
It shouldn't be relevant.
Right.
It should just be the company should be giving the value to the customer. Yeah. It shouldn't be about a guy.
Yeah. So what about marketing that's worked for you guys? What have you done as far as like, I know you guys have grown the company over the last few years. So what have you done that's helped to grow it? And has it been marketing or has it been something else?
I would say it's a combination. I mean, marketing, as you know, being a marketing expert, marketing has like 1,000 different like angles.
100%.
It's like a very complex word that's overused.
I know people are like,
and oversimplified. Like I'm a marketing expert. It's like, you're an engineer. What does that mean?
Right.
Like you could build bridges or you could design a house.
Right.
Like so, what I found, our marketing, to answer you about us, we've stayed. We kind of knew our niche was the Jersey market, specifically North Jersey, like Morris, Essex, Union County, a little bit of Monmouth County. So we knew our marketing and branding would do well in North Jersey because that's where all of our customer base is, which is our best asset. Right. Customers are your greatest asset. And then, so our marketing stayed focused on servicing the North Jersey market, that we're going to come on site and handle the switch over in person in addition to the remote tech. So it's funny, we're a remote work culture that comes on site to help customers with what they need.
And I think marketing, I agree. It's, we have a silo of marketing that we work in. but what we do for marketing may not work for everyone.
Also, of course not. Yeah.
Other marketing that people do might work perfectly for
sure.
them.
Have you ever heard of the marketing guru Seth Godin?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
He said something on a podcast the other day that really struck me. He's like, too many of us were focused on like getting 1 million views or getting 100,000 views. It's like, it doesn't matter.
Nah.
It's like, get 1,000 people to love you.
Right.
And you'll have the greatest business ever.
Right.
And like, it really like oversimplified, like, we all want it. We all have great big visions, but it's like, if you figure out quickly like who you serve, like then you just triple down.
Right.
And like, it almost makes it life easier.
Right.
Because you don't try to satisfy everybody.
Right. Well, so I started off in product marketing, and that's almost saying, in the sense that in product marketing, it was about the customer experience.
Right.
It wasn't about a digital ad or social media or about your search engine rankings.
Right.
In product marketing, the marketing started at the purchase. Well, it started at the viewing it on the shelf, and then the opening of the package.
That's interesting.
And then the use of the product. Right. Product marketing was that user experience. If that user experience was great, then they're going to refer it to someone. And I know you guys focus on customer service.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is a great use of marketing, right?
Sure.
The better your product is, the better.
No, you bring a good point. And it's funny,
side.
Today's day and age, it's business is challenging because everyone has good customer service. Like everyone, everyone says.
Everyone touts it.
Everyone touts it. Doesn't mean everyone has it. Right. So yeah. Do you have great customer service? Yeah. Do you love your clients? Yeah. It's like, so how do you separate yourself? Right. And it has to go to like an insane level of the client experience where like they trust the provider beyond the product you're giving them. Yep. And it's very challenging to get to that because it takes a whole culture and a whole really deep process, not to bring up.
Yeah, no, but really, it does. Yeah. So, and then what comes into that is reviews. And good reviews, I find, is one of the best marketing techniques or tactics you could have. You have a bunch of reviews online. People say they love you, say that you do good service. I mean, if you Google something or some product, you don't just, well, most of us, at least I think most of us, doesn't say, okay, I'm going to make a purchase because it says it does what it does. I have to look at the reviews first.
Reviews, to me, are becoming more important than the picture of the product.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like the speed of trust.
Right.
Like, if 1,000 people give it a 5-star and say it was the best thing they've ever done, it takes away the pain of making a decision. Yeah. It's like, well, if 1,000 people did it, I'll take a risk.
There's nothing worse than going on Amazon, not checking the reviews, and then you get that bottle of tequila in the mail, but it's like this big, you know, or you get like 20 of them, you're like, shit, I didn't mean to buy it.
Yeah, and it's not from Mexico.
Exactly. I
don't want it made anywhere else but Mexico.
And cowboys didn't use it to for the revolution.
There's no freedom for the Mexican party. I wouldn't drink it. It would be like, tequila made in Europe. I'm like, not interested.
Exactly. So Vince, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. If people want to find you or your services, how would that happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. Just Google TeleCloud, Union, New Jersey. It'll forward to our website. You can give us a call, web chat, or email in, and we're happy to talk to you.
Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for talking a little shop with me.
Cheers. Can I stay for like 15 more minutes?
Yes. Do you play pool or anything?
I'll play. What's up?
We're going to take a photo of you, one just kind of holding the glass next
I want Bertha Gonzalez Nieves to call me. She's like, Vincent, you must do my phones. You must call me.